Father, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Father Jesse Esqueda. I'm a Missionary Oblate of Mary Immaculate. I was ordained an Oblate in 2014, and I was sent to Tijuana, Mexico as my first mission, and I've been there since for over 12 years.
Father Jesse, there's this great documentary that's coming out about the migrant caravan. How did the Oblate ministry in Tijuana become part of this Exodus stories, and what was your initial reaction when you were first approached?
Yeah, the caravan situation unfolded was actually very unique. We kept on hearing on the radio and on the news that a migrant caravan was coming from Central America. We would see pictures on it, and finally we found out that they were staying in Tijuana, about 6,000, 5 to 6,000, then it went down to about 3,000. And I remember we were thinking of ways to get involved, but we didn't know how. So it was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I was driving home, and I was already in the line to cross the border into the US. My family lives in Southern California. And I had Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off to go home and spend Thanksgiving with my family. So when I was in the line, I received a phone call from Pastor Gavin Rogers from San Antonio, Texas. He had actually been with the caravan, and he told me that he had a few people with him, about 20-something people, that hadn't showered, that needed a shower, needed food. They were staying in this camp with maybe about 3,000 people. So he asked if I could help. So immediately I got out of the line to go into the US. So I went to the camp, and it was incredible what I saw at the camp. Thousands of people, just intense, children, mothers, teenagers, huge lines for people to get some food, and huge lines to go to the bathroom, just to go to the bathroom or shower. So he introduced me to his friends, a few of his friends that he had been walking with. And that day we took them to our parish. We had our pre-Thanksgiving dinner there with them. They showered, and then they went back to the camp. That happened for a few days until the situations in the camp was getting tough. Once there was some violence in the camp, they tried to go into the US. It was turning very dangerous. So they asked if they could come to our parish, and we said yes. And we took it was between 19 and 22 people that stayed with us.
And Father, walk me through that. So the transition, so when you visited the camp and they transitioned, eventually those individuals transitioned to the ministry in Tijuana. What were your observations on how they changed, or if they changed, transitioning from this volatile camp to a little bit more stable ministry?
Sure. Well, let me tell you a little bit about history with me in Central America.
Sure.
When I was in college, I had not met the Oblates yet. I grew up in Southern California, around the LA area, and I had this desire to do missionary work. I used to work with Vincentians, and they had a mission in Honduras.
Okay.
So I went when I was 19, the first time to Honduras, and I saw the poverty that I had never seen before. I saw children as young as 7 or 8 high on glue or cement because of hunger. So that type of situations, the lack of just resources for people really left a mark in me. So I kept on going back to Honduras. And then finally, in 2003, I did a 2-year mission experience in Honduras in Central America, San Pedro Sula. And I saw situations, poverty, violence that I had never seen before. So there was a connection that I had with Central America. So whenever the migrant caravan was coming, most of the people were coming from Honduras. That really connected with me because I understood their situation. And I know that some of them might seem just people that come from the streets, but in reality, that's been their life. And it was people that are just looking for a better life for them and their children. So when we took the migrant caravan into our parish, at first it was great. It became a little challenging. There was about 19 to 21 people. And so finding volunteers, making sure that there were some rules. They were great people. But again, they had never been at a shelter, at a parish, where we told them, this is the way things work here. This is what we need from you guys. And I think the most important thing was that we became good friends. So it didn't feel that we were housing some people, some migrants. It was just some family, extended family, people that were part of our church. That's the way we saw it.
Father, walk me through, did you see that change? Because coming from a camp,
Sure.
where it's very, temporary, you really don't know what's going on. You mentioned that there had been some violence there.
Sure.
And then they come to stay with you and the other Oblates, and you just said something fantastic, that they were friends.
Sure.
Staying there. Did you feel that? Did you see their moods
Oh,
change?
yes. Because when we went to the camp, we kept on going back to the camp, even though we had the people there, because we went to celebrate Mass. And I remember one day at the camp, as I was celebrating the Mass and as I was doing the Eucharistic prayer, and I mentioned St. Eugene, I just felt, I wanted to cry. I just felt that this is exactly what St. Eugene would want us to do. There were thousands of people, children, away from home, waiting in lines 2 to 3 hours to shower, to go to the bathroom, to eat some food. And the fact that the Oblates were there. So that was very meaningful for me. So not just when I saw them there, but as we went back to the camp, we saw how difficult the situation was at the camp. And you see it in the documentary. I mean, they had to go through mud to shower and wait in long lines. The good thing is that many people from Tijuana did step up and they went on their own to feed the people, including us. There was many times that we would take hundreds of bag lunches or just sandwiches or pan dulce, sweet bread for the people in the camp. So it was definitely a huge change for them. They had 3 meals a day. They were able to shower whenever they wanted, in the morning or in the afternoon. We also have them help us out with some of the things that we were doing there. So they were busy doing something also. So it wasn't that they were just there. And many of them were waiting for their asylum process. So they kept on going to downtown Tijuana to see if there was any news. So we were busy. But I think the most important part is that we included them in our youth events. We had many youth events in Tijuana, and they were part of it. So in the movie, you see them dancing with the youth. You see them participating in the events like the Posada, which was the Christmas party that we had before Christmas.
Father, why do you believe this documentary is especially important at this moment in the migration conversation that we're having?
Sure. At first, it was we brought the people to our parish, and then we had some cameras come because they were doing a documentary, especially on 2 other people that were staying with us. It was a little awkward at first because we were trying to really help them get the lawyers and get everything going, and we had cameras. But eventually the cameras just disappeared. We went along and they told us, just do whatever you have to do, and we did. So we were able to just ignore the cameras and just present the reality that was going on. So the people being there was just a great blessing for us. And as you said, the fact that they were incorporating in the day-to-day work of the things that we were doing there. So the documentary, I think it's so important. I was afraid that it was going to become very political or just very one-sided, but it's not. It's basically the story of 3 people, their journey from Central America to the U.S. And it's a beautiful story of family, the concern for their family, the desire for their family to have a better life. And the 3 people that the documentary highlights are people that are escaping violence. Dennis was one of the people that stayed with us. His family was involved in some political issues. His dad was involved in politics, and they were trying to kill him in Nicaragua. And then the other person, Cindy, with her children, they were witnesses to a murder. So they had to escape or leave Honduras because they were involved with all of that and they were afraid for their lives. So they had legitimate reasons to flee their country, to look for a new place. And I think this is so important right now because it gives you the face of the immigrant, of the migrant. You hear their stories. And again, it's basically their stories and their journey. So I think it helps people to understand why people would come. And I think this is important for everyone because we're able to put a face and a story to the people we see coming. And this helps us understand why people do the things that they do.
Father, you bring up a really great point. When we think of migrants, we think of it as a subject, as a category. Sure. This documentary, as you mentioned, follows Daisy, Dennis, and Cindy, who are escaping traumatic experiences and threats, really. From your pastoral experience, how accurate does this film portray that emotional and spiritual realities of the people arriving in the border?
I was very impressed. The premiere was last weekend, last Friday, and I saw the movie, and the documentary did a fantastic job at highlighting their stories. It was very accurate. It focused on them and their journey. There's a part of the documentary where Daisy, their nephew, gets lost and doesn't come back to the camp for a day. And so the documentary covers their fear, their anguish as they waited for their young nephew to come to the camp. So it really does portray in a very fair and realistic way what the journey was. Them having to hop on the top of trains, stay wherever they can, seek for food, just walk for miles with one goal in mind, being able to seek asylum in the U.S.
Father, you mentioned that the two individuals that stayed with you at your location in Tijuana, that they were coming from threats, from
Right.
violence. So, as a priest, how do you sit with or accompany someone who's coming with that level of trauma and that level of experience and that level of
Yeah.
fear?
So two things. First of all, I was able to understand deeply their situation because when I was in Honduras, it was December 23rd, 2004. There was a massacre just a few miles from where we were at. Some gang members had killed, or they killed 28 people, children, students, adults, seniors, for no reason. So I could understand the fear that some people face in a country where there's so much violence. So I was able to understand their fear, their trauma, their desire for safety. The good thing is that at our center, not only do we have a place where people can stay because we do retreats. So because of that, we have some places where there's showers and dorms. So they were able to have a safe place for them to stay. But we also have a program of psychologists. So we were able to bring the psychologists to help them. It was just beautiful because they were able to talk to someone about trauma that they had never talked to anyone before. Things such as rape and violence and just poverty and the effects of poverty. So they talked to the psychologist. They were able to find some healing with us. We also have a program of lawyers. So they were able to talk with some lawyers about their options. We hear or we see the story of 3 people, but others didn't come to the U.S. Some of them are still with us in Tijuana, and they stayed with us. And they found in Tijuana a place for them to call home and family. So our desire was to help them, whether they were thinking of seeking asylum in the U.S. or staying in Tijuana. Our goal was to help human beings that were severely traumatized, that were fleeing from violence, and that were seeking just a better life for them and their families. So that's what we saw, and that's what we did. And we were just so grateful that they had this month, because they stayed with us for about a month, where they found a family, healing, faith, and just they saw a different side of what humanity can be, of what humanity can do when they come together.
Father, just on a little personal side, it's hard not to see the hand of God in this whole movement. The fact that years before this even happened, you had exposure to that culture that gave you insight into what they were fleeing and helped you understand the fears that maybe if you didn't have that background, it would have been hard for you to understand that. And then knowing what I know about Tijuana, its resources, it was like it was custom made for these individuals. How do you consolidate that? Because some people might be thinking, oh, well, you just happened to be at the right place at the right time, but you were at the perfect time.
Right. And even just, as I mentioned before, I was on my way to Thanksgiving with my family. And I came back and we picked up the migrants and we had dinner with them on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And it just felt that that's exactly what I was supposed to do, we were supposed to do. And it is amazing the way things unfolded. The fact that they came into a place where we had psychologists, counselors, where we had a place for them to shower, where we had the lawyers, and that we were able to have all those resources for them at their service. And it was just amazing because not only did they find a wonderful place, but even our community. Tijuana, where we're at, it's a very poor community, one of the poorest communities in the Diocese of Tijuana. Yet people were bringing boxes, especially of bananas, since they eat a lot of banana in Central America, they fry it. So bringing some of the stuff that would remind them of home. People were bringing rice and beans to the parish, clothing, because they wanted to help. So not only was it good for the migrants that were there, but also for our community. They've received a lot. And it was their opportunity to give back. And I was just so amazed of the amount of help that we got for regular community members, people that have very little, that were still bringing bags of rice and beans and toilet paper for the people that were there with us.
Father, as a priest and as a missionary oblate, what did you witness when it came to the role of faith within this migrant story and these folks in crisis?
It was just amazing. We had the opportunity of baptizing 2 children, children from the Caravan. And then one of the adults, young adult, He comes from a very violent background in El Salvador. He had not been baptized. He had a very bad experience of faith growing up. And they went to our retreat. We have a retreat called Search. We took several of them, and they had such a transformative experience. Throughout the weekend, there was so much tears and pain and healing and grace. And he actually, the adult, decided to become Catholic and be baptized. And he asked me to be his godfather or sponsor. So even that, not only was that an opportunity for them to find a safe place, but a place for them to find God and to find healing even with God. Because when you live in a place that there's so much violence, when you see poverty, sometimes it seems easy to blame God and to ask, where is God in the middle of all this? But for them to see another side where there is a very poor place in Tijuana, yet a place that is very vibrant with faith and hope, and for them to be part of that, I think that was incredible to see that.
Father, you mentioned a few minutes ago how when you were at the camp that you had this feeling that this is exactly
Right.
what St. Eugene would want to see done, and these are the people that he would want us to be reaching out to. With that in mind, how does the Oblate commitment to those abandoned guide your ministry at the border?
It's incredible what the Oblates have done in Tijuana for many years. Like I said, we are in the poorest and one of the biggest parishes in the Diocese of Tijuana. We have people that live in poverty, low income, and also extreme poverty. We have people that are squatting with no toilets or with no electricity, and families that live in that type of condition. So being able to see what the Oblates have done way before me. They started a clinic. We started a school for children with special needs because an Oblate one day found when he visited a family that there was a young boy with Down syndrome tied up with food on the ground. So the Oblates immediately moved to start a school for children with special needs. So the way the Oblates have responded throughout the years has been incredibly inspiring. And I could only continue that legacy of great work and being able to respond to the immediate needs, but also to have dreams of what is possible with the people that are there. And one of the strongest programs that we have now in Tijuana, because even if people work very hard, they make about $120 a week for about 48 hours of work. And prices or things are not cheap in Tijuana. Gas, food could be almost as close as in the US. So to think that a family has to live on $120 is incredible. So we started a scholarship program as a way to help people get out of poverty. So we take care of charity. We give the food bags and the food baskets. We fix roofs if they're leaky. But also, how do we create a society where people are stepping out of poverty, where people are becoming professionals and that they're helping the rest of the community? So because of that, because we have young professionals that studied psychology and law and engineering, when we have a crisis like the Migrant Caravan, we have all these resources that we could put into use with people that need them.
Father, you mentioned, and I'm lucky enough to read the newsletter that you send out about all the amazing stuff that's happening. What does a day look like in the ministry in Tijuana, given that you're not only addressing needs for a very poor community, but also trying to get them out of that cycle of poverty?
Sure. So Tijuana is like a parish with the difference of a parish in the U.S. that has, right now we have 8 mission parishes. Okay. So we have the main parish, La Parroquia, and then we have 8 other. We call them chapels, but it's like a mission church. Okay. The mission church has a youth group, a catechism. They have pretty much everything that a small parish would have. So the Oblates are responsible for 9, not just the parish, but then the other mission churches. So I was there as a pastor for 5 years. Now I'm in formation. So I'm at the seminary with young guys studying to be Oblates, but I help on weekends. And then aside from all this pastoral work of youth ministry and social outreach and catechism, we also have a pastoral center. And I think that makes the Oblate mission very unique. The pastoral center has a school for children with special needs, children that have been rejected or not accepted into a regular elementary. They're able to come to our school. And we have close to 60 children and young adults at our school. We have a program of young psychologists, young men and women that graduated as a psychologist, and now they do free services for the community. A program of young lawyers that help in legal aid for the people that need legal aid. The mission gives about 24,000 food bags every year to the poorest families. We have a very strong social outreach, people that visit the poor in the community every day. We have a program to repair roofs. Young engineers and other volunteers, they're repairing roofs every year of people that have a leaky roof. And a very important program that we have is the health program. We no longer have the clinic. The clinic that we used to have, we gave that to the diocese when we cut the parish in half. But then we realized that many of the people could not even get to the clinic because they were elderly, they were dying at home with no medication, with no help, alone. So we started a program of outreach. So our doctors actually go into the community and they're saving lives. They find people that have been abandoned, elderly, that have no idea of what to do when they have any type of illness. We have the doctor that she says that this elderly woman that had cataracts in her eyes, she heard from a friend that if she would put the juice of an orange into her eye, that was gonna help her vision. And that's exactly the opposite. She's ruining her eye. But because they have no access to medical attention, they believe whatever other people tell them. So because of that, our doctors were able to correct this information and actually provide the medication that could really help her out and help many other people out. So what does a day-to-day look like? It's a busy day with meetings, with outreach. There's fires, so the Oblates quickly respond when there's a fire to go and see what we could do for the family, providing food bags for many families. But I think the most important thing that we do at the center of everything is faith. Tijuana has a very strong youth and young adult ministry. And Search is a retreat that we have there that is what brings people together in faith to serve others. So it's not just a social program. It's basically a faith-based program where young people and adults work together to improve the lives of others.
Father, given the challenges that you face, I would think one of the challenges is creating a sense of dignity and safety for people that have lost so much. How do you go about doing that?
I think our program is definitely great because it's holistic. Mental health is not very popular in places like Mexico because it's not cheap. To see a psychologist, people would pay about $50 per session for an hour. And people make $100, $120 a week, so it's impossible. So the fact that we have counselors there to really help people heal. And when there's extreme poverty, people live in small houses with uncles and cousins. So there could be a lot of sexual abuse. So helping the person holistically in their mental health, healing wounds. And then if they're going through some difficulties because of land, we have lawyers that could help them and ease some of the concerns and worry that they have. Food and shelter, fixing roofs, being able to provide just whatever need someone has to really be able to live their fullest life. And again, like I said, at the center of everything is faith. So we're able to help the person in their own dignity. And as St. Eugene said, and we use it constantly at our mission, he said, first help them to become fully human, then Christian, and then saints. So starting with a human element, making sure that they have an education or access to education in healthcare, in shelter, in food, in mental health. So that they can become a healthy Christian, and then finally a saint. And a saint would be somebody that's giving back, that's serving the world, that's serving God in the world as they've been served.
Father, going back to the documentary, a lot of the things you do are very personal. You have discussions, they're very private. What was that like being followed by a camera, having those moments? And I know before we started the interview that you were told, do what you regularly do, ignore the cameras. But how was that going to those events?
It was difficult at first because we had a lot of group sessions, even with the lawyers, or as they were sharing their stories with us, or when we had a youth event. So at first it was difficult to have the cameras there, but slowly they disappeared. We just went along with whatever we had to do, and the cameras were just there. We see in the documentary maybe about 10 minutes of the actual center, but it really did create an impact. Not only did we stop helping them when they were in the center, we actually helped them as they crossed the border. I was able to visit Dennis. He was in the detention with ICE in Adelanto, California for over 6 months. So I was able to visit him. And I remember when I visited him, as he walked out to see me, he started crying. I guess he had been there for so long with no family, far away from home in a detention center. He was very thin. So it was just a very emotional moment. So the fact that we didn't stop helping when they were in our center, that we continue to be aware of what they were doing and what was going on with their life. I was also very blessed to visit Cindy in New Orleans. She's staying at New Orleans, to see her new husband, because she met someone and she was able to get married, and that really helped with everything that's going on. So being able to be part of that, and the documentary made that possible, made it possible for us to really help as much as we can, but then for us to see now and reflect on that. So seeing the documentary, like I said, they were there for a month. It was hours and hours of filming. We see about 10 minutes in the film, but just seeing it again just reminded us of how important it is to be there for people, especially in moments where they find no other place, or where they are not treated with dignity, or they feel far away from home and from family, that they're able to find a family outside of their country. I think that's a huge blessing.
Okay. Father, you mentioned before we started the interview that there were hundreds of hours recorded,
Yes.
and 10 minutes made their way to the screen.
Yes.
So my question is two parts. One, were you happy with the 10 minutes? And two, did you see anything in those 10 minutes that gave you insight into something you hadn't thought before?
I was very happy with the 10 minutes.
Okay.
But even from the beginning of the film, as they're speaking to the cameras, because the documentary goes to the actual film and the footage, and then they're speaking. The interviews were done at our center. So that's our center too. So there's a lot more, but they don't know it's our center. So I was happy with that. And I was very happy because I was able to see their life. We knew what happened at our center. We were there, but we were able to see the backstory. I knew part of it, but being able to see the images, because the movie is very powerful. The images of them walking for miles, and it shows them on top of the trains, and it was just so powerful that it really moved me. So I was very happy because I know that the movie was not about our center. We were just blessed to be a part of it. The movie was about their story, and being able to see their story, their backstory, being able to see it on film, that was very powerful. But most important, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, the fact that we were an important part in their journey, I think that's the best part. And the fact that at the end of the film, when there was the opening, Ilse, which is the creator of the film, she apologized and she said, we know there's hundreds of hours that we filmed, but I was just, no, because I was very happy to see their story, because it is what their story is about. And again, for us, it was a blessing to have the Migrant Caravan there with us, not only just because we were able to help them, but because our own community had the opportunity to give, and they gave so much. So being able to see that, and I see you see the hand of God there. Let me tell you a quick story. We get many volunteers from the U.S., either to build houses or to come deliver food bags. And there's a group that came once when we were having a graduation mass. So we did the graduation mass, and after the graduation, we had like a little ceremony, and there were some testimonies of the young people in tears that they had got a degree, that despite the challenges and the poverty, they were able to be a professional now. And this person wrote to us, and he said that as he was seeing all of this, he just sat there and wept because he was seeing the kingdom of God. That for the first time, he was able to witness the kingdom of God in a very tangible, very real way. So I think when the Migrant Caravan was there, and many other moments, I think we get a glimpse of what the kingdom of God is, what it means to be able to see people heal, to be able to see people that have faced so much poverty and violence to come to a place where they find love. And I think that's what makes our service and our ministry and my vocation worthwhile. Because in the end, that's why we were created, to be able to learn to love as God loves us. And that's not always easy, because we have our opinions and our biases and our own issues. But when we're able to see beyond our differences and be able to just help and love the people that need love, that's when we're able to experience the presence of God and see the kingdom of God.
Father, what do you hope, you've viewed the documentary, so what do you hope viewers take away from the documentary?
I think viewers are really going to be able to put a face to the many migrants that they see. They're going to be able to see their backstory. And I think that might change the way they look at people that are migrating. I agree with Pope Leo that, we need to treat migrants with compassion. Christ himself was a refugee and a migrant. And The second part is that countries have the right to put their borders and to develop a migration system, but that is fair and it's merciful. And I think we remember that yes, we're called as Christians to really help the stranger and love the people that need love, but at the same time to be able to do that with mercy, even though there's laws that need to be followed, even though people need to be responsible also, that we do that with mercy.
Okay. Father, to end this on a more personal note, how has your ministry in Tijuana shaped your own understanding of faith, justice, and human dignity?
You know, as I mentioned earlier, I did missionary work before I joined the Oblates, and that was my first change, where I was able to see what it meant to live in a country where you have no running water. Where I stayed in Honduras, I had running water every other day for 1 hour. So I would have to fill up my sink and just bottles of water so that I would be able to shower and use water. So I was able to live a little bit of that. So that was my first encounter with poverty. Then when I met the Oblates, I was able to come together with other men that have the same heart to be able to serve the poor and the most abandoned, and to be able to work with them, and to be able to work on some of the projects that they had in the past has been a true blessing. I came to Tijuana in 2014, where there was a history of other Oblates that had developed a clinic and a school for children with special needs. So to be able to see the way they worked, learn from them, and then to build on that, I think has made a huge difference in me. I tell people that at the beginning, I joined the Oblates because I wanted to serve the poor and the most abandoned. And I still do. That's at the core of what I do. But even most important than that, I'm an Oblate now because I really want to fall in love with God, with Christ. And I want that my service comes from there, from an authentic desire to be able to see Christ in others, to be able to love others even when it's difficult to love them. So I've learned that from many Oblates, from the mission, and I've seen what it's possible when faith and community come together to help people. I've seen it in the many young adults that we serve and help in Tijuana.
Okay. Father, thank you so much for your time and your candor. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.